UNC. You said you're going to use the NDC to inform the new national country framework. I'd like to see what are the technologies, because Yeva said it's not the patent typically that are the constraint. So what are the technologies that actually prevent Congo from utilizing its biodiversity-rich country to get the dividend from that? But let me move on so that we can, while you think about that, to our next speaker, Noela Garcia Nebra, who is the head of sustainability partnership at the International Standard Organization. Noela, we've been talking about the cost, the non-tariff barriers, and others. And international standard can help accelerate access to affordable climate solution, but sometimes also this fragmentation can increase the cost. So can you please help us? How can including through multi-stakeholder partnership and capacity building, can we ensure that co-benefit with other SDGs can be achieved, and then this facilitation of technology be achieved?
Thank you so much, Chantaline, for this question. International standards have been indeed a key tool in trade facilitation for many, many years. The WTO TBT agreement recognizes the right of countries to regulate. However, they expect governments to use international standards to facilitate trade and to make sure that those regulations do not create unnecessary barriers to trade. And why it's so? Because international standards are basically a compilation of globally agreed good practices. So when countries use them in regulating, they facilitate companies mainly comply with those regulations, because through the international standards, companies know what to do. So based on that, how are they supporting technology transfer? Well, because they are a compilation of good practices of the best way of doing something. This is basically facilitating knowledge transfer. So when countries use international standards, they are supporting companies to learn the best way of doing something, and a way that is comparable to other organization or to other country. Standards hence facilitate technology interoperability. They create trust, and they support the scalability across borders. They are in nature voluntary, but again, they can be used in regulations, and they are performance-based. They are not prescriptive. That's important to know. And through the rate of national standards bodies that form ISO, they can be adopted and adapted to local needs. So international standards are basically a baseline, and then through our national standards bodies, in cooperation with national stakeholders, those internationally best practices can be adapted to local needs. So they allow for this flexibility while at the same time being aligned to global best practices. I'm going to give an example maybe. Some years ago, and that is also an example of multi-stakeholder and how ISO works. We partner with the Bill Gates Foundation to develop standards on non-sewer sanitary systems. This was a technology that didn't exist, but it was really necessary for developing countries. So in cooperation with our national standards body in Senegal, our national standards body in the US, and then the multi-stakeholder platform that we offer, that's our value proposition as an organization, a multi-stakeholder platform to develop best practices. We developed standards that have allowed for the development of non-sewer sanitary systems that are today being used in developing countries. So that's just one good example. So overall, how can standards, international standards, develop according to the TBT principles? Very important, because it's not just 10 people developing a standard and off we go. No, we are talking about multi-stakeholder standards based on consensus and ensuring that the voice of developing countries is at the table. So those tools, how can they help overcome key barriers to technology transfer? Well, first, they increase trust. and quality assurance. So they provide benchmarks for safety, reliability, and performance. So like this, we reduce perceived risks. It reduces transaction costs. So international standards, they simplify market entry, reduce compliance burdens to importers and exporters. They allow for skill and capacity transfer, as I mentioned, because they provide guidance, conformity assessment as well. They validate and verify that things are doing the right way, very important as well. And then they provide a sign to investors as well, helping to companies that use those standards to access capital for climate technologies. As a multi-stakeholder platform, capacity building is a strategic priority of the organization because our collective impact is determined by the ability of everyone to be able to participate in the system, in the development of standards, but also benefit of those standards. So we do have a very important capacity building program, which is based on the ISO action plan for developing countries, through which we fund, through internal funds, but also with donor funding, training, twinning, mentoring. We increase the capacity of our national standards body to contribute to the standards development work and work with stakeholders to implement those standards. We have collaborations with UN organizations. We have a partnership with UNDP, with developing standards for the SDGs, and many more. But for the benefit of time, I will stop here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noriela. And indeed, this capacity building and international cooperation is very important because contextualizing these standards is where really the market access issue comes in. Thank you so much for this. Moving right along, we're in time, but we we need to keep it going. So, Ms. Kay Rafitoson, Executive Director of PWYP and Vice Chair of Transparency International and Resource Justice. What are the institutional, financial, and other changes needed to facilitate access to climate relevant technologies? I think we've heard quite a bit of the issues and some of the solution, but from your huge network, what is it that comes out of your work?
Definitely. Thanks, Chantaline, for having us. So just in a nutshell, Resource Justice Network is a civil society coalition. This is a movement worldwide. We are based in more than 50 countries fighting for shared prosperity on a thriving planet. And before answering the question, I just wanted to make a point as well on what is tech access meaning. Actually, I think we need to see beyond solar panels or just single projects. We have to transform systems in countries, and I think it goes like including power and grids, for instance, storage, efficiency, also all kinds of infrastructures, not just components, but really the whole system, because we need also resilience tools, early warning systems, used by communities to monitor what is happening in their countries and build more efficient systems. So that's the need. I completely concur with what you said, Chantaline, about the need to create that list. And I think the IPCC, along with UNCTAD and other systems, can contribute in creating that. Now, what do we need to transform? We need to understand what is broken, of course. And I think that colleagues have already mentioned some of those issues. As you said, finance is becoming expensive, the lack of access to technology, especially for global south countries, low and middle income countries, impeding the development of industrial policy and also this real transformation that we are seeking through the energy transition. So we have three big leverages to propose here in terms of solution. First of all, to unlock tech by trade and intellectual property rights reforms, of course, because for the moment, all of this is hindered by patents, old rules, which no longer correspond to what we are seeking today. And so we need a 5-year renewable TRIPS climate tech waiver in our idea, no less than that, which will simplify compulsory licensing, open access for countries to manufacturing, training, but also testing and setting standards domestically, locally. And this system will also help to fast track government use of licenses. And in the same lens, we need a climate tech access facility, and here we need the UN system and all the partners, of course, to really ensure that we have pooled patents and also joint research and development, all of this with regional tech centers fostering the transformation regionally, locally, and nationally. This is important. Why? You will ask me, why don't we use like existing facilities or flexibilities? Because they are too slow, they are sometimes narrow, and they don't correspond once again to the transformation we need. So we need to extend that. Second thing to do is to protect the policy space. What does that mean? We need a climate peace clause at COPs. That means we need to halt ISDS dispute settlements or mechanisms during COPs. If we need countries to transform, let's stop also litigation first, because this is what is hiding behind the old rules that we have right now. Governments are afraid to be sued in courts because they are using some products, some licenses, etc. We need to break that. That's the sense of this peace clause. And then with the phase out of ISDS, we also need a WTO climate exception, if I may say, something which with TRIM's green curve out will really help countries to produce local value add, local content, and also value. This is what you said about Congo, for instance. You have the resources, but some technologies are missing and some rules are impeding you to step further. This is the WTO action that we need. And finally, we need to make finance affordable, because that's still a big gap or hurdle, especially for us poor countries. Finance systems, not just projects, once again. And we need clear rules which reduce the risk, but also the borrowing conditions, so that everyone has access equally to finance. And we need also credit rating reforms. We need credit agencies based in Africa and elsewhere, which work with our national and regional conditions, local currencies. We have to negotiate with the big three, of course, for doing that, but I think this is something completely doable. And finally, we need one just transition finance window for everyone, including all of the UN system mechanisms and the IFIs, as you mentioned beforehand, to ensure that grid storage efficiency, everything is included all before. I would like to conclude by saying that we need to seize this COP momentum to create a work plan, especially which will be led by UN mechanisms. UNCTAD, of course, but also UNIDO, the WTO, UNEP, ILO on the labor side, because we need to think of workers as well. All of these institutions have to get together to mandate a joint work plan until the next COP31, because there is an emergency. We cannot wait for more years. So the COP31 is next year. Until then, develop that work plan and deliver also model clauses, procurement templates, MRVs, etc., everything which is needed. And let's create a just transition working program also, which embeds all of these plans. And this will be a kind of help desk which can be operated and implemented under the Belém action mechanism that we are pledging for, to really help countries passing from ideas and theories and pilots to concrete action. And what countries can do in monitoring that is create also a soft coalition with countries like Indonesia, India, Zambia in Africa is leading, South Africa as well, Brazil, of course, not to forget it. All of these countries can follow this roadmap and see what is needed what is the gap still missing and how to complement it. So a lot to do. It's all about equity, sovereignty, and justice in tech access. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kay. You're very good as usual at summarizing the key things to do, and you gave us a lot of work. I think we have 2 minutes. I would like to have a 15-second from each of you. What's the key takeaway that needs to happen, maybe between now and COP31, in this area that we could do all together, collaborating?
For me, I think it should just be one word, inclusion. If the youths are included and policy making and the planning, I think everything will be all right for us. Thank you.
Assemble together data, put evidence on the table. Assemble together the data, put evidence on the table, help create those maps and roadmaps forward.
I would say collaboration and development of capacities.
What I would say that I come back to the NDC. It is really I would say the first time that we are at 5 years to 2030. There's no climate agenda, there's no an SDG item, there is one single, and the NDC engine fuel and will boost these 5 years to go. So this is this intersection, and we have to take that momentum also to accelerate the Sustainable Development Agenda through the climate census. And the NDC offers us really this tool. And this is what we're going to do in Congo, Brazzaville, but also at the region level, Congo Basin, we have the coalition of the Commission Climate, and so it's a sub-regional initiative also. So this is our NDC, SDG agenda, the momentum, the right time.
Okay.
Share the technology, share the finance, share the opportunities, and let's do it together.
Thank you so much. Well, I would just like to thank our panelists. I think this was very informative, and let's all work together. This is just the beginning of a roadmap, and I think we have our work written out for us. So please join me in thanking our panelists, and I want to thank Rigo for hosting us. Thank you.